Welcome to the Muscles and Magic the Gathering podcast. And today we are talking about one of my favorite things ever, Magic the Gathering and Final Fantasy. Storytime, Joe. Back in the day, mid-90s, the very first game that I got, this actually might have been the early 90s. You got to actually Google this for me because I can't remember. But one of my fondest memories as a kid was the very first video game I ever got was Final Fantasy 1 on the old 8-bit Nintendo. Did you ever play it?
When did that come out?
It's old. I mean, I was maybe grade 6, grade 7.
87 was when it was released.
Pardon? 87. Yeah, it was a long time ago. I had to be 9 or 10 years old. Incredible game. Did you ever play?
Yeah, I played the hell out of Final Fantasy 3.
That's another good one with Sid in the airship.
Yep.
But there are actually, by the way, before we get down to business with Magic the Gathering, Joe, one of my favorite things to do, and I wish I could show you on my phone, but I'm using it as a secondary camera right now. You can actually on your phone get the original Final Fantasy 1 through 6 that you can play. It's my favorite thing to do in the airport. I actually own them on the phone, and I own them on the Nintendo Switch. But we are like a final... It's heaven for me that you can now have this on a phone versus when I have to used to blow out the cartridge and then stick it in so it would work. But anyway, I digress. We are way off topic, but
now we're just reminiscing about Final Fantasy. I also played Final Fantasy 7 on the PlayStation.
Oh, it's so good with Cloud.
Jam.
So this is special for you, this guy right here. But anyway, Magic the Gathering has come out with, I've said on record that the Lord of the Rings set is the greatest set in Magic the Gathering history because I love Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is my favorite, I would say, storytelling vehicle, movie, entertainment of all time. But if it's 1A, Final Fantasy is 1B. Like, Final Fantasy has got to be close. And I am so excited for this set, I can't even stand it. So, I recorded a video the other day, and it was on this guy right here, Sephiroth, Fabled Soldier. Super excited to build a commander around this guy. Incredible card. You can check that out on my YouTube. I will put a link in the show notes. It's a bunch of cards that you need to add in a Sephiroth build. But today I wanted to continue that, and I wanted to talk about, Joe, and this is a guy that's near and dear to your heart, the hero of Final Fantasy VII, Cloud. And this card is a card I really want to build a commander deck around. It's Cloud X-Soldier. He's a human soldier mercenary. He has haste. Now, when Cloud enters, attach up to one target equipment you control to it. And whenever Cloud attacks, draw a card for each equipped attacking creature you control. Then, if Cloud has power 7 or greater, create 2 treasure tokens. Incredibly powerful. Couple of reasons. We talk about this all the time on this podcast, Joe. The 3 most important parts of a good commander deck, and the commander decks we built for you. Follow this. We need some card draw. We need some mana ramp. We also need the ability to tutor or go get the stuff we need. This card is going to cover off the card draw. It's going to cover off the mana ramp because you are going to create a massive amount of treasure tokens with this guy here. So for today's episode, I wanted to pick 15 cards that you can use to make a better Cloud deck, because I know the minute this drops, a bunch of people are going to be building this one. So with that in mind, Joe, let's do this thing. Now,
jump in.
One more thing for you. Cloud is red, green, and white. I'm sticking to red and white, and I've selected equipment-specific cards to do the job today. Because obviously, Joe, like, we'd put a Swords to Plowshares in here. We'd put a Path to Exile. I'd probably put it's green. So, I mean, I don't know, name me some green cards. A Worldly Tutor.
I was just going to say a Worldly Tutor for sure.
Probably a Sylvan Library. Like, there's cards that I would put in because it's green. Obviously, these are going to be equipment-based cards that you can put in your Cloud deck, because you're obviously, read the card, it's going to be an equipment type deck. I might have to convert mine. I have an equipment deck already, but it's only 2 colors. Cloud may be taking control of that deck, and we might be switching stuff up a little bit. We will see. But let's go over those 15 cards because people are waiting and they don't like the time wasted.
Or maybe they do.
First one up, Joe. Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients. I'm going to need your help. You have your phone handy?
Yep.
While I do this, I need you to Google value of these.
Okay.
So Nahiri, it's casting cost of 4, plus 1 ability. You can create a 1/1 white core warrior creature token, and you may attach an equipment you control to it. Really powerful ability, because the minute you create that token, you just get to attach an equipment to it without paying the equip cost. That's going to be useful when we start looking how equipment works.
Yeah.
The -2 ability, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a warrior or equipment card from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library. So it's a way to cheat out your equipment. And then the -3 ability, it deals damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to twice the number of equipment you control. So if you have a bunch of equipment in your deck and you have 15 pieces of equipment on the board, man, you could do 30 damage.
Yeah, and for less than $1 too.
To a creature, right, or a planeswalker. So less than $1, a great bargain card.
Yep.
So that's number 1. Number 2, a 0-cost keyword menace. Rograk, Son of Roga. Costs 0 to bring out, Joe. We always talk about mana value in a deck. We want to keep the mana value low. If it's under 200, it's going to move fast and furious. This is 0, so it's going to bring the overall mana value of your deck down, if you will, versus like putting a creature in that's a 10. But it has first strike, it has menace, and it has trample, and you can attach all kinds of pieces of equipment to it. Like on its own, it's a 0/1. It's not a great creature. At the very least, it's like a chump blocker.
Yeah.
But if you can add a bunch of equipment, say a Colossus Hammer to this, now it's an absolute monster of a creature. And that goes for what, Joe? A couple of bucks?
Yeah, under $2.
Okay, so bargain. Next up, and this is actually the commander in my equipment deck, or one of them. These guys actually pair together to be commanders, but it's Arden, Intrepid Archaeologist. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipment you control to target permanent or player. So again, it's a way to cheat that equipment cost, because some of these weapons, Joe, and we're going to show you some today, sometimes the equip cost can be pretty high. You don't have the mana to pay it. The more stuff you can get where you can just attach it at will, the better it's going to work. What does that card go for?
Under $2.
Well, so we're on the budget train right now. Like you can get these all for probably $4. Great deal. Great deal. Next one, and I hate to break our budget pattern, Joe. It's expensive. The Stoneforge Mystic. And I can tell you this one, this is over $20. And it's probably shooting up because of this guy right here.
Oh, yeah.
What are we looking at for this?
I'm trying to see if I can get, I mean, the lowest I see, and this again is like damaged prints for like $15, but yeah, it's going to be around under 20. You can get it for under 20.
Not a cheap card.
No.
When Stoneforge Mystic enters the library, you may search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. So it's a tutor. And then you may, by paying a little bit of mana, put an equipment card from your hand onto the battlefield. So not only do you get to tutor for the equipment, you get to get it out of your hand onto the battlefield, and you also get to do that with other pieces of equipment too, especially if they have a high casting cost.
Yep.
So great card. Pure Steel Paladin. I love that name. I feel like you're going to go order a Pure Steel Paladin now, because I feel like that would be your character. Like with the way you are so righteous in your Dungeons and Dragons games, this would be would you actually, I've never asked you that. What would you be? A paladin?
My first like true D&D character was a barbarian, but the first one that I made myself that I felt connected to was a cleric.
Okay, so a cleric and a paladin got to be close.
I mean, pretty close. Pretty close.
I knew. In fairness, I knew you weren't picking a red wizard or a. Right?
I think I'd be a pretty badass paladin. I could go for that.
Right. So whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Again, there's that card draw feature I talk about in Commander. The more cards you can draw. What's the longest game of Commander you've ever played? Like 10 hands, 11 hands, 12 maybe?
Yep. Like maybe 10 or 11.
So you got a 100-card deck. You draw 7 off the top. There's 93 left. Your commander's off to the side. There's 92. So even if you draw 15 cards, Joe, you're still at you got 77 cards you didn't see.
Yeah.
So the more you can draw through that deck, the better you're going to be. Like, imagine how a game of Commander would work if you literally had all your lands on the table and started with your whole hand.
Oh, it's a one move. Insane, right? It's a lot of math in one turn, and then we're done.
Yep, and then done. But if you can draw cards, this is going to help. And now here's another thing. Equipment you control have equip 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. So again, there's that whole theme with the cards I've selected. It's ways to cheat that equip cost. So you can just constantly equip stuff. Next up.
Oh, and I should point out that one's for right around $1.
Okay, so you can actually build around this guy for pretty cheap.
Yeah,
like
so
Stoneforge Mystic is the big one so far. But these other cards are great too. You can get what? How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 cards for essentially like $2 or under. That's not bad at all. SRAM, Senior Edificer. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, draw a card. Again, card draw. So not only every time you cast a piece of equipment, not only are you getting an equipment on the board, which can be utilized with all your other people, you are also getting a card in your hand for free. Another great deal, which in an equipment deck is probably going to be a piece of equipment, Joe.
Yeah.
How much?
I can't find this one. Spell it for me real quick.
SRAM, Senior Edificer.
Got it. All versions.
My guess is a couple of bucks max.
Yeah, right around $1 again.
Okay, perfect. Next up, from the Assassin's Creed set, and not necessarily a traditional equipment card, but something super powerful in equipment deck. Whenever Arbaz Mir or another non-token historic permanent enters the battlefield under your control, deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain a life. Artifacts, i.e. pieces of equipment, Joe, they're historic. So every time you cast an equipment spell, you're going to do a damage to an opponent and you're going to gain a life. Super important in a game of Commander.
And this one's pennies.
Pennies. And it's each opponent. It's not just target opponent. That's the key. Everyone at the table. Next up, from the same set, Bureau Headmaster. Equipment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Equipment abilities you activate cost 1 less to activate. So a cost reducer. We talk about mana ramp all the time, and yes, mana ramp's important, but what's equally important is reducing the casting cost. Like, imagine in your elf deck, Joe, you could figure out a way to bring out the Craterhoof Behemoth for like 1 forest.
Yeah.
What a great day that would be. Yeah. You know what I mean? When you don't got to pay mana for the thing. So if you can lower the casting cost to your stuff, what a great deal.
Yeah, that one's about $1.30.
Okay. Here's one that's going to be a little more. It's a tutor. Steelshaper's Gift. We love tutoring in Commander decks. We talked about that. Card draw, mana ramp, tutoring. Search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. This version of the card should be a little more expensive because it's Secret Lair from Fallout, Joe.
That one's about $5. But you can find it between like $3 and $5. Different version.
Okay. Great deal. By the way, off topic, are you still having PTSD from when you stole that equipment in Fallout and you weren't supposed to steal it and the whole game got derailed?
I was a little too early on in the game for that particular thing to happen.
What did you steal anyway? What's the story behind that?
I remember it was that dude with the power armor. I can't even remember his name off the top of my head, but like I stumbled into that. And then it was like, yeah, every time you would fast travel, the the bad dudes that were hunting you down would just blow you up. Like you didn't even have a chance. You would just like pop into existence and then bombs would be going off.
Just take you out.
Run for your life.
All right, but this is one of those Fallout cards, but super important, get the equipment that you need, and that could be a game ender. Now, the big boy tutor, the enlightened tutor. Search your library for an artifact or enchantment card and reveal that card. Shuffle your library, then put the card on top of it. This allows you to get any artifacts or enchantments in your deck, and where this is going to do some real work, and it's not a cheap card.
$30.
You can get your Smothering Tithe. You can get your whatever enchantment, Sigarda's Aid, which is probably in this. You can get any type of enchantment that you want as well as artifact. The Steelshaper's Gift will work for a piece of equipment. Yeah. This will work for any artifact. You want a one ring, you can get the one ring. You want, you can get anything you need. Coat of Arms, you can get Coat of Arms. That's what, 30?
Yeah, about 30.
Okay. Next up, an enchantment following the same kind of theme. Sigarda's Aid, Joe. You may cast aura and equipment spells as though they had flash. So you can put them out right away whenever you want. And whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it to target creature you control. So again, a way to cheat your equip costs.
Yeah, about $6 for that one.
Not a bad deal, Joe. Like if we're looking at this, like the kind of recap, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got 6. I'm going to actually take out Enchanted Tutor because it's expensive. But we'll say that's 5. There's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We'll take out the Stoneforge Mystic. 15, 16, 17. Like, for under $20 for sure.
Yeah.
You can get, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 really good cards for your deck. Not bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, Joe, for everyone's favorite, 4 pieces of equipment.
All right.
Ready?
What do we got?
All right, first of all, the best 3 swords in Magic the Gathering history. Now, we could make this podcast 9 hours long and go over every piece of equipment. You're going to need more than 4, but I selected 4, and we're going to go over the best 3 swords in Magic the Gathering history. The first one, these are not cheap, Joe. The Sword of Fire and Ice. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and blue. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, Sword of Fire of Ice deals 2 damage to any target and you draw a card. I would be slapping this on him right here.
Yeah.
Get him some protection from some red and some blue.
Yeah, and this one's going to be at a minimum about $30.
Yeah, not a cheap card. But again, by the way, you can stack for people that are, as Beans calls them, my 16-year-old noobs. You can stack 19 pieces of equipment on Cloud if you want.
Uh-huh.
So, protection, great. Not a cheap card, but super useful. Why? Because of the protection and because of that card draw. The next one, number 2, the Sword of Wealth and Power. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from instants and sorceries, Joe. So you are not going to Swords to Plowshares this guy. You're not going to Path to Exile him. You're not going to Hero's Downfall or whatever cheap form of removal that you're going to use, Deadly Rollick or Go for the Throat. He's got protection from all that. And whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Great for casting things. And when you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You could choose new targets. So assuming you have him on Cloud, and because Cloud's got some green in it, Joe, you could then cast a Worldly Tutor and double it. You can double your... What's the 0 casting cost one you have in your deck? You just have to pay a bunch of mana the next turn or you lose game.
Oh, God.
Summoner's Pact.
Yep, Summoner's Pact. That's right.
Right, so you can use these cards. You can double them up, essentially. So it's a double tutor by using this. What does this card go for? Not cheap.
Like $15.
Okay.
Not awful.
Not crazy.
Yep.
But I actually got into this. I'd love your opinion on this. What do you consider a budget card? From like a guy that's relatively new to the game?
I think it depends. if it's I need one card for my deck and it's a $20 card, that's still a budget card to me. But if I need 5 $20 cards, those are not budget cards anymore, right?
Okay, so it's dependent, because I'm trying to work this out, because like my budget videos that I put up, and you've probably seen them.
Is it the cost for one card, or are we talking like the budget that you're willing to put into a deck? Because if you can buy like a pre-con for like what, like $50-$60, and if you put another $50 into it, it's gonna be a pretty stacked deck.
Yep.
So like, what kind of budget are we talking about?
See, everything to me is relative. So we're going to talk about the fitness world for a minute. I don't have money for protein powder, but I have $50 to spend at the bar on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. I don't have $50 for protein powder, but I have money for DoorDash every day. So my whole thing is like, you go to Starbucks, coffee is going to cost you like $7. Even Dunkin' Donuts, which is like budget coffee, is going to cost you like $2 or $3.
Yeah.
Like I kind of consider a $15 card like not a bad investment for a deck, especially this is useful in any deck.
Yeah, there's that too. If it's an upgrade for one particular thing that's never going to go anywhere else, then it changes the map a little bit, right?
You got it. I digress though. Next sword up, Joe. Sword of Feast and Famine, the greatest card. Not the greatest card. That would not be true. The greatest sword in Magic the Gathering history. Gets protection from black and green. And whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card and you untap all lands you control.
$25.
Mana Central. But imagine you had these 3 swords on your guy. You got basically protection from everything.
Yeah.
No one can touch you. And you're just raining damage on people and tapping everything, drawing cards, creating treasure tokens. You're just Cloud out here living life. And the final one, Joe, and this is awesome. This is the card I've been waiting the whole episode to talk about. Have you ever seen one of these? The Colossus Hammer.
I did. I saw one in a shop I was at.
What does this go for?
Oh, let me see here. I'm trying to remember back. It's like $3 to $5.
Okay, this card is insane and not insane at the same time. So, equipped creature gets +10/+10.
Yeah.
It turns your creature into a monster. You lose flying, but it turns your creature into a monster. Now, where it's insane, Joe, is the casting cost is 1.
Yeah.
Like you can literally bring this out turn 1. Problem. It costs you 8 to equip. So even though at face value, when I first looked at this card, I'm like, oh my God, it's only a 1? This has to go in my deck. But that's a massive equip cost.
Yeah.
So now here's where this card gets, that's where it's not insane, the massive equip cost. Here's where it gets insane. So we have Colossus Hammer. We're going to put that there. We're going to move the weapons off to the side. With Nahiri, you can just attach this to one of those creatures using the +1 ability for free. With Arden, you can skip the equip cost. With the Pure Steel Paladin, as long as you have 3 artifacts, the equip cost is now 0. Sigarda's Aid, the equip cost is now 0. Not a bad deal, Joe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Here's the other one with Cloud. When Cloud enters, attach up to 1 target equipment you control with it. Cool. So this is on the board and Cloud comes out. Cloud is now 14/14, which is incredible. And now you're making all kinds of treasure tokens. So like, there's all kinds of people talk about combos, and you could look this up, but like, I almost guarantee you, Joe, if you Googled like Sigarda's Aid and Colossus Hammer, it would come up with like combos, and people build decks around that. So now you have massive creatures right away. So those are the cards we're looking at, Joe. We got the Stoneforge Mystic. We got the Enlightened Tutor. We got the Steelshaper's Gift. We got the Bureau Headmaster, Arbazmir, SRAM Senior Edificer, Rograt, Sword of Feast and Famine, Wealth and Power, Fire and Ice. It sounds like I just rattled off a bunch of Game of Thrones names. You think he copied his book titles from these? By the way, another completely unrelated thing. Have you seen all this flack that Stephen King's taking for copying the Hunger Games? But he actually wrote the book before, like, the author of the Hunger Games was born.
This is how smart of a nation we are.
There's a similar thing with that, Joe. I was reading it yesterday, and it was really good because we are all things nerd here, where someone was talking about how Frank Herbert ripped off Star Wars from Dune. And people said it was the most expensive ripoff of all time because he had to build a time machine and go back in time and write Dune before Star Wars was ever written. But it's actually funny because Dune kind of is like a ripoff of Star Wars, but it was just written 8 years before. So Star Wars is actually the ripoff of Dune. Anyway, that's a rabbit hole I go down in my spare time.
I was going to say, I think Star Wars was more a ripoff of Flash Gordon, but carry on.
Colossus. Sigarda's Aid, Pure Steel Paladin, Ardent Intrepid Archaeologist, and the Heir to the Ancients. So there's a lot of other cards you could include in this. I mean, I feel we could just build a whole deck around this. But like, Joe, if you took these cards and then you included, help me out here with your elf deck, like what are the best 10 green cards in your elf deck? Worldly Tutor, Summoner's Pact, Sylvan Library, you could probably throw like a Land War Elves or a Birds of Paradise in here for some mana ramp. You probably throw a Delighted Halfling in here. Like you could fill this now. So we already got 15 cards. You could throw in at least 10 from your elf deck. Now you're at 25 cards.
Yeah.
And then you look at like your white deck and you throw in like a Smothering Tide, maybe a Monologue Tax, maybe a Swords to Plowshares, maybe a Path to Exile. It's got some red, so maybe you throw a Lightning Bolt. Like you've got a really good start to a deck.
Yeah, and a lot of options, like a lot of ways that you can take it beyond just kind of the mechanics that we're leaning into with the equipment.
Yeah, I mean, really, you couldn't go wrong. Throw 10 pieces or 15 pieces of equipment in here. Some equipment supporters, and fortunately, equipment supporters are cheap.
Yeah.
They are right now, unless everyone starts building with this. Like I talked about this in the Sephiroth video, Joe, and to feature this guy for a minute, but whenever Sephiroth enters or attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do draw a card, you need some sack outlets with this deck. Every sack outlet in Magic the Gathering just got more expensive. Everyone decides to build this deck. And that happened, you saw that with the Ur Dragon, right? Like the Ur Dragon shot up in price. Astral Dragon shot up in price. Why am I saying that? Because Tarkir Dragonstorm. But get your equipment now. I mean, it might be too late. Some of the stuff might have already shot up, but luckily I had my equipment deck built. The real question is, Joe, and you need to answer this for me to see how good of a friends we are. My equipment deck, it's a red and white, and this is my commander, and this is my commander. They're partners. My question is, do I make a brand new equipment deck? And do it based on Cloud, or do I convert? I feel like there's two answers, right? It'd be much cooler to have Cloud. We talked about, by the way, I almost couldn't record this podcast because of what you did to me at the start of it. I am still in shock. Final Fantasy 1 came out in 1987.
Well, you got to think that, so that's back to the 8-bit NES too, remember? Like, so that's back in the 80s.
But it's funny where your memory goes. Like, I've been playing Magic for 30 plus years now. And I know, like, I have to think about it, right? Like, okay, so Magic, I don't remember when it came out. I just remember it was in high school when I was exposed to it. So, like, I can kind of figure it out because I was in high school from 1993 to 1997. Like, that was my high school years. So I can kind of figure out, like, when I started to play. But like Final Fantasy, I didn't remember if it was 6th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade. But I kind of
so different when you're that age too, you know?
Right. But I do have a really good memory of getting that old school Nintendo, and it came with Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt.
Yep.
Right. But the very first game I got was Final Fantasy. Nothing about it. but my parents knew I loved Lord of the Rings and nerd stuff and
I remember renting Final Fantasy from like the video store.
Yeah. Yep, and you would go play and you would do things. But you know what? Those games are the worst to rent because you got level grind.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I remember I had to beat what was the elf Astral Prince's name? It's like one of the very first missions you go on. You sail south and a little bit to the west, and you go to the Elf Kingdom, and he actually like, I can't remember now if I should know this, if he impersonated the elf or he put him to sleep. What was his name?
I gotta look it up. Oh my God.
Because Garland obviously is the person in charge of the orbs, and you got to take him out. What was that elf's name?
Oh my God. Pick up the elf prince. Yeah.
I got to find that because it is a piece of history. And it was important for my life. I won't be able to function today if I don't know this.
Give his name? Because you have to defeat, what is it? Astos.
That's who it is.
Yeah.
The dark elf.
He's the dark elf who's responsible for the prince's slumber. Yep.
Like, it is just such a good, rich storytelling game. But that's why, Joe, this set, I am so excited for it because like I played the Final Fantasy games so much.
Oh, now I'm like going down the rabbit hole looking at these pictures and just remembering.
But it is fun. And I really hope in this set they do enough calling out. Because for me, those first 6 games, I played a lot more than the ones after.
Yeah.
Like, I love the top-down. I'm actually looking around for my Switch here because I've been playing Dragon Quest III. But I love those top-down 8-bit, like...
You know, have you ever played... For as I don't want to say bad, but like for as limited as that system was, those games had such depth of story. Like nothing could touch them.
One of the best ones ever is that first Zelda that was created on the Super Nintendo. Like, as good as Breath of the Wild is and Tears of the Kingdom, don't get me wrong. Like, those are stellar. But, like, those first Zelda games were also really, really good. And that's how I look at Final Fantasy. And so, really excited for the set. And that's why I just answered my question. I'm going to build him alone. I'm going to use as many Final Fantasy cards as I can. That's how I'll differentiate them, Joe.
There you go.
Because I could easily just stick this guy in and stick a couple of extra cards in. However, 1 second. This guy's coming in here too. Cloud Midgar Mercenary. When Cloud enters, search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And as long as Cloud is equipped, if an ability of Cloud or an equipment attached to it triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Wow. With those swords where you draw cards or untap, like that's a monster card. So maybe what I'll do was just build another one because I am at 56 Commander decks right now.
Yeah.
Right? Slivers is going to be 57. This is going to be 58. This might have to be 59. Joe, we are on the march to 100. And on that note, before we go, if you want to help me get to 100 decks, Joe, we gotta start a Patreon too.
Yeah, for sure. We gotta get some sponsors. Is that hard to do?
Do you have one?
Huh?
Do you have one?
No.
Okay, well, we gotta start one because we need some help getting to 100 decks. So maybe we'll start a Patreon. But in the meantime, get your supers in and put your comments down. What cards would you include? That's how we'll end the show. What cards would you include? If you were building a Cloud deck, what would you include in it? What's your favorite piece of equipment? What's your piece of your artifact? I often call these weapons decks, but equipment isn't really weapons, but it kind of is. Let me know what those are in the comments. What helps support me, 100 decks or die. That is the goal. We should put something on that, Joe. If Bobby doesn't build 100 decks by 2026, he dies a horrible Hunger Games.
If you do give on Patreon, we can name the deck after you.
That is true. That is true. Enough money, you can get it. So, like the video, subscribe. I want to know what piece of equipment you want in the comments below. And again, 15 cards that can go into your Cloud deck right now that you can start to build around. Tune in for the next episode of Muscles of Magic the Gathering. Remember, subscribe, notifications on, supers, comments. all the things.